Hey guys, gals, and MBs. So yeah, this is going to be a video on the Blackhole from Eventide, the pedal. I've made a video about this before in the past. I think it is one of the best inexpensive reverbs. Yeah, people will jump like up and down saying no, it's not inexpensive, and yes, it is, especially on the used market. You can get them all day long. Here you go, for around $160 $150. I've seen them on the local market for about $140 and so forth. So yes, I do believe it is an inexpensive reverb pedal, but that's not the only thing. I think it is one of the best reverb pedals, period. I put it up there alongside the Big Sky, the not the MX. I think the MX is a little better, obviously, because the algorithms are just gorgeous on that thing, and I don't think it's as good as like the Erica synths like Nightverb. But for the reverb or like ambient reverb context, you can't really do much better. Now, like the Erica synths Nightverb is awesome and it is better, but not by a huge majority. Nor is the Big Sky MX and things like that. So this is kind of like the best kept secret for inexpensive reverb pedals. First things first, I don't generally like eventide effects. I know, yeah, people will say, well, how many eventide effects do you see me use other than the black hole algorithm? I mean, I've used the Tricerachorus, which is pretty okay as choruses go, but I like the Ola more from Strymon, and I really don't like a lot of their delay effects. I had a time factor. I didn't really care for it. The timeline is a way better delay. And I had an H90 for about a few days, and I just didn't find any of the reverbs all that breathtaking on it other than Black Hole. Even the new one that they put in, Wormhole, it's just not for me. It's like a warped reverb that you can like warp over time. That said, all this rambling aside, I bought this alongside a new Op6 module. I'll be making videos on the Op6 module soon. I got that because it has a comb filter. Totally spaced my mind that it has a comb filter and you can use it for physical modeling. Plus, I needed an FM synth, so module bought. Got this alongside. $211. I got it on sale, but like I said, you can get them as low as $140 depending. Just look around, and they're only $250 normal retail, and they often go on sale for $199. So I keep saying this. It's like it is the best ambient reverb pedal for not a lot of money, in my opinion. Don't go and try and get something cheaper if you really want ambient. The Hall of Fame from TC Electronics is literally one of the worst reverbs I've ever heard in my life. I had one back. If you look through my videos, I might have used it at some point. It almost turned me off of guitar pedals at the time, or the Hall of Fame 2, both of them actually, because I came from the world back in the day when I first started with rack effects, and I thought, oh, the guitar pedals just aren't that good. But then, I heard things like the Big Sky and the Space, which obviously on the Eventide Space, the only thing I ever really used is Black Hole. So yeah, it is. Don't go super cheap if you're going ambient. Try and get one of these used or something, and save yourself a lot of headache looking at a discount reverb that sounds like absolute like shit. So, and this one obviously doesn't. Lots of rambling. Let's get into it. Why I still think, at least even in 2025, this is one of the best reverbs on the market. So yeah, we'll use the harpsichord patch I have here. All right, there we go. Let me get my fingers warmed up there. I need to figure out a better solution for my microphone here so it's not in the way. So it does a lot. By face value, you just think this is Black Hole, but Black Hole's a very complex algorithm, but it's laid out really nicely here. So I got a setting here. Let's just listen to it. You can obviously store presets on it. This isn't a preset. I mean, it shows one, but I'm using like knob values here. So this is just something I whipped up real quick. And before somebody complains about why don't you use the built-in reverb on the TO5, well, it's not that great. It's not good for ambient context, at least, and it's hard to modulate. Even if you modulate the pre-delay on it, it just doesn't sound right. Yeah, so you can hear that sounds absolutely gorgeous, but it has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. So let's turn up the mix a little. Let's center the gravity. So gravity, I'm not sure exactly what it does. It kind of like, I guess it sets up a delay buffer that the delay or the reverb line probably reads from. I'm just making this up because I don't know how the algorithm works particularly. But you can have a negative like gravity, which means you'll have a reverse reverb, and it sounds absolutely gorgeous. Listen to this. And then you have feedback control on top of a size control on that. I guess gravity is kind of like your decay time, and size is obviously like a size control, and then your feedback adds to everything. So if you have like no feedback, but then you have a lot, you can actually freeze it using just feedback. Obviously, you can use the freeze control right on here too. And as you can hear in the background, one of the things that makes this sound absolutely stunningly gorgeous is the modulation. So let's go ahead and do some forward decay. Let's turn the size about there. Let's and you have a lot of filtering and stuff, or like yeah, filtering basically. You have a high and low filter. I believe it's a filter instead of like a EQ, because there's Q on here, so there's resonance. All right, so let's go to the secondary controls. You do that by clicking that, and let's turn the depth and rate down on the modulation, which would be the size and low control. You see the rate and depth underneath. Okay. So yeah, it's not a very pretty sounding algorithm when you have no filtering, or well, we have a little bit of filtering, but you have no modulation. There's where this pedal really shines. And I said it when my comparison, I believe I made with the Cloudburst versus like the Blackhole, that both bass algorithms kind of suck until you add their like secret sauce, which in the case of Blackhole and Cloudburst is the or I should say the cloud algorithm from Strymon in general is the modulation. Yeah, it's very comb filtery. So I'm assuming it uses, it's almost like a Schroeder reverb. It's extremely comb filtery, isn't it? But then we add some modulation. Let's turn about halfway. And let's turn the rate up. Isn't that amazing? With this patch in particular and this reverb algorithm, this definitely has Shadow of the Colossus vibes, doesn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. So let's just keep the modulation like that and do some of the things. All right, so let's do this. We're gonna turn everything. We're gonna turn the gravity up here. We're gonna turn the size down. So it's super versatile. You can just grab a little bit of ambience there. Turn down the mix. Right. Add some feedback. We don't really have much size and we don't really have much gravity yet. But if we turn that up. Let's hear the filtering. Let's turn it all the way down. Turn it all the way up. You can hear how bright the reverb gets, and that's for the actual decay or the buffer inside of the black hole's filtering, so it's not actually filtering the input. It might be filtering the input into the buffer, but yeah, either way, it's the wet signal that's getting EQ'd here. So I turn it down. I turn the high down. I don't like too much brightness here. Let's go ahead and hear the Q, or the resonance. Let's turn it way up. Oops, that's the output volume. Didn't want to do that. There we go. So you also have resonance control, so you can really add some peaks to it to make it sound very otherworldly. Less gravity. All right, let's the other thing that I want to bring up is this has a delay portion too, which I think it can go exceptionally long for the pre-delay. Think of it actually more like a real delay, and then your reverb kicks in on top of that, because you can go like 2 seconds or something like that. I believe at least you could on the black hole, couldn't you? So yeah, so here, secondary functions, you have delay. So let's hear no delay, right? Let's turn it all the way up. So and obviously that plays along with the feedback too. It's all intertwined. You can feel the you can hear the gorgeous filtering that's happening in there, and the modulation and everything. Let's go ahead and turn down the high, like about here. Let's turn up the low a little. I like it like that, kind of like. But now you turn it into negative gravity, so we get that reverse. Watch this. Changing the delay again. I love it. All right, let's go back. Let's turn the delay back down. Let's make it a very ambient reverb. Let's turn the feedback to around here again. Let's turn the size. Don't turn the size all the way up. Turn it to around here. And then turn the gravity to around the same, just a little less. And then we want to turn the high way down. Turn this, the low, about here. And let's just, for the fun of it, let's compare it here. Let's turn this, let's turn the size all the way up, because this doesn't go very long. Let's turn the pre-delay down, let's turn the K up, and let's turn some filtering on, because this is super comb filtery. Yep. It's not terrible, but you can agree, comparatively. Just how breathtakingly gorgeous that is. Let's add a little more. I love when you have the depth on the modulation up fairly high. You get this really weird tail at the very end of the buffer clearing itself that just sounds really cool here. It almost goes up in pitch, so. Absolutely love that. Such a versatile pedal, like I said. From the looks of it, you wouldn't think so, but like I did in my video on the pedal a while back ago. So yeah, the major reason I've done this video is a lot of people were asking me about cheaper reverb pedals on other social media sites, and so might as well just make this so I can push them back to it again. Yes, in 2025, I still think the Blackhole is worth it, especially for what it goes for. I know my retailer of choice had them in stock recently, but I think they might be out of stock now. I talked to my sales guy there, and he said promises they're getting more, so they're not like out of production or anything. These tend to sell out quite a bit, and I see why actually at this point. They're just totally worth it for the price point. Usually, the problem I have with a lot of videos is I know I put out a lot of gear out there that is just unobtainably expensive, but I just wanted to throw this one out. You can even just throw a really cheap synth through this. I'm obviously using one of my favorites right here. Not a cheap synth in the any stretch of the imagination, but anything just sounds really good through this. So that's just another thing. I mean, you could also go for the Cloudburst pedal, but you can't really get a Cloudburst for very cheap. I think they hold their resale value pretty high, like $250, 240, so around there, maybe 200 if you're lucky. And then you have to add a power supply. Usually, so if you're looking for one of these used, make sure you get the power supply with it. It's a standard center negative 500 milliamp 9-volt pedal power supply, but it comes with one in the box. Every one that I've gotten of these .9 pedals come with a power supply. So just be aware of that. Make sure who you're buying it from used, you get it in the box. But if you buy this new, obviously you're going to get it. So that's one thing you don't have to buy when you get a Cloudburst. I say the Cloudburst pedal because that's the best thing close to this price point that I recommend for ambient stuff or anything really. But yeah, they're both very versatile. I believe the Blackhole as a standalone pedal is way more versatile than the Cloudburst is, but Cloudburst can do some crazy good things too. So yeah, I guess let's just end this with my favorite patch, which is a factory patch, and that's let's go here. It's an Oberheim, right? Let's turn it off. And that is what I'm talking about right there. It is it's a pedal that honestly I feel is fantastic for ambient, obviously, but it makes its way into other genres just fine. You want something with a nice sound for shoegaze, for example. You put a nice fuzz before this. You get a guitar signal in there. It sounds gorgeous. You throw in there's just so many genres this works with. Obviously, this is kind of like a synthwavey thing that I had going there, like the synthwave ballad. I guess it would work for that. It adds just so much ambience to it, and you can crank it down just so it's not so ambient for things, but just the overall reverb quality is still fantastic even in 2025. And this reverb algorithm is pretty old. I think it comes from like one of the older harmonizers. If I'm not mistaken, it might come from like the H3000 or something that old by this time. But Then again, with the video I had recently on the Strymon Timeline, that's a pretty old pedal, and it still sounds absolutely gorgeous and almost untouchable in terms of reverb, not delays. Sorry, but yeah, again, if you're looking for an inexpensive ambient reverb Blackhole, I wouldn't waste your time and money on something like a generic one of the Chinese pedals out there at this point. I've still not heard a fantastic reverb like from one of the Chinese makers yet to this date. Like NuX, for instance, has really good um, delay algorithms, like the tape one that they have, the tape echo emulation and things like that. But I've not heard good reverbs from them recently or at all. So this is kind of what you got. And for the love of God, stay away from the TC Electronics Hall of Fame, that is, or any of the iterations of the pedal, even with the tone print capability. There's just something like ghastly about the reverb quality on it. Yeah, especially when you crank up the time. It just strikes a nerve with me when I hear it used. I'm just like, ooh, that's it. Yeah, it's not good. So yeah, that said, get these pretty cheap used, especially outside of like things like reverb, because people have to pay seller fees. So you could probably haggle them if you're buying them directly or something in that case, because they go for 160 there. But you know, it is what it is with your local market. Look around, get one of these new, really, if you want to have a fairly good inexpensive reverb. I can't state that enough. So yeah, again, I made this video so I can point people towards it when people ask it. That way I don't have to keep saying, hey, the Eventide Blackhole, and then people will be like, oh, is it really that good? And then I'll have to like show my other videos. So yes, it is really that good still, even in 2025. I don't think anybody will have a better ambient reverb for this price point. And yes, I do believe it is better than a lot of the other small time pedals in this form factor. I think that the Meris Mercury 7 is a decent sounding reverb, but I still think this is better in terms of overall reverb quality. So yeah, that said, thanks for watching. I hope this video helps somebody out. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you like my content, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I will see you next time. And I'm hoping to do something with the Korg Op 6, but I am definitely still going to make some multi-poly content and obviously some sequential content on the TO5 and the Take 5 still, and patches and things like that. I have plenty of things planned, and I was recently working on some patches for my summit, which I'll probably also share with everybody. All right. Thanks again. Bye.